In 2 Thessalonians 3, Paul writes these words to the church community he loved and served. It is described as his final greeting to those people. Now may the Lord of peace himself give you peace at all times and in every way. The Lord be with you. If you look at what the Bible says about goodbye, the word isn't there. You can go from Genesis to Revelations, from Adam to Paul, and no one says goodbye. The Oxford Dictionary says that when we got the word goodbye as a contraction from the phrase, God be with you. When people were departing, they didn't say, I'm leaving. It wasn't just information. It was prayer. It was a heartfelt wish. It was a benediction. It was an invocation. It was impassioned plea. While I cannot be with you, may God be with you. When hymn writer Jeremiah Rankin learnt that was the origin of the word goodbye, he wrote an old hymn called God Be With You Till We Meet Again. He wrote it so that every week in the little church he attended, when people would leave on a Sunday, they could sing those words over each other. It was so powerful that when World War I came, they put those words on postcards to send with soldiers when they would have to face battle and possible death. God be with you.
Thanks, Kate. I was just sitting there and my microphone headset just got caught on the back of the seat, so I nearly killed myself getting up there just then, which would have made, you could have stayed on then for another celebration. I've done something with Tech Boys. Oh, Beth's coming to my rescue. Beth will fix it. Will should be fine. Thank you to everyone who's contributed this morning, and to those who've come specially this morning, I want to just say how humbled and how grateful I am that you're here. I really do appreciate the fact that people have made the decision to come and join, and I just want to acknowledge Ben and Tarina at the front here, the big deal that they've come this morning, and they will be with us just for part of the service up on stage, and so we are very appreciative of that. God be with you. It's an expression that conveys a blessing and a wish for protection, for guidance and spiritual well-being. It's an expression for someone else as they depart or they face challenges. It is a heartfelt farewell, assuring the person that they are not alone, and God's presence provides strength and support. God be with you. It's an act of faith. I'm going to trust God that he will intervene, that he will take on what this person needs right now. Earlier this term, I actually sought to figure out how I could transition well from this position into whatever's next. I listened to a podcast about transitions for those moving on from a role in a church to something else. And it was by these two young fellas. And basically the podcast was entitled Transition Well and Don't Be a Baby. And it was very helpful. They spoke about the importance of grieving well in order to leave well. Grieve well in order to leave well. I've been real about the sadness that comes when you've had the wonderful privilege of being part of something that's meant so much to you and been so good for you. And that's been my deal. I've been on staff at this church for 40 years, the last 5 years as the fill-in senior pastor. And I want to say that the whole deal has been a privilege because of the goodness of the leadership and the gracious, and I want to say this kind of last part as I transition out, has been really healthy and good because of the goodness of the leadership and the graciousness of Ben Pearson, who's about to pick up the role of senior pastor. They have made sure that my transition has been as good as it can be. And I'm about to go on extended leave, whatever that means. Sick leave and then some other leave that will hopefully stretch out and help me as I go on to this stem cell transplant, and then a period of recovery that may take months, not weeks. Their support, their care takes so much pressure off both Jen and I. And we're both deeply aware that there are no guarantees. We're hoping and we're praying, we're trusting as best we can, and we're getting set for this next challenge. But we do feel that sense of change, and we do feel a sense of loss, of sadness. However, I can say very honestly that that sense of loss or sadness is minor when compared with my very deep sense of gratitude to this faith community for so much, for so long. You have been so good to me, and that has been pronounced, emphasised these last 5 years since this cancer deal became part of my story. I am grateful also for so many organisations and groups in the community who've also supported me and checked in on me, made sure I was going all right. Schools, uni cougars, people from all sorts of diverse backgrounds, doctors, medical staff, who've been better to me than I ever had a right to expect. I want to sincerely say thank you. I always believed that God was good. But these last few years, so many of you have shown me the goodness of God. So many of you have helped me experience the goodness of God. And it has affected me quite deeply. It's affected the way I see and serve my God. It has affected how I pray, and it has humbled me. I want to say thank you for praying for me. The transplant and recovery may take quite a number of months, and I will move through that process as carefully and as obediently as I can. But I want to acknowledge right up front, I will miss you. For whatever the period of time is, I will miss being in and part of things that happen so rapidly and constantly in and from this place. I will miss the praying together. I will miss the serving alongside. I will miss people, watching people try, care, trust, move and love. And I could go on for hours. I'll try to limit my list in the interest of time. To all of you volunteers, you have inspired, challenged and encouraged me. You are what makes this happen. Thank you. To the staff, past and present, you have looked after me. You have trusted me, you have prayed for me, and you've kept me going when I thought it might be easier just to walk away. You have done welfare checks on me. Some of you have reminded me that I have cancer, so it will be okay to play that card and give some things a miss. You are the real deal. You have carried extra responsibilities, and you've made it possible for me to get to this point. I owe you a debt of gratitude. To my family, Jen and the 4 kids and their partners, Dan and Ellie, Kate and Boris, Jack and Jess, and Nick and Brandon, I wouldn't have made it anywhere near 40 years without you. And I recognise that there have been sacrifices on your part, lots of patience and lots of love. And I am deeply grateful. I know it's really important for me to acknowledge our 5.5 grandchildren. So to Lil and Zara, Hazel, Max, Jed the gardener, and the soon-to-be appearing Ross Moss. These children, these grandchildren, I just want you to be clear, have never cared that much that I'm sick. And they don't care at all that I'm a senior pastor. What they care about is milkshakes, watching Spider-Man and Friends, and that I take them places. And that's been really good for me. My dad continues to just amaze and inspire me in his humble service. God has and is good to me. And this church community has been such a major part of my experiencing and knowing God better. I have found God to be faithful, generous, kind and gentle. He has been with me and is with me in ways that continue to help me know that I matter to him. And he has worked in wonderful ways, and I can honestly say, whatever I may have given, whatever I may have sacrificed as I've sought to serve him, has been nothing in comparison to what he has done and is doing in my life and in the life of my family. And I have just been humbled and amazed at what God has done through this community of faith. God has turned up, and often in surprising ways. About 10 or 12 years ago, a family was resettled here in Toowoomba because of the ongoing serious safety concerns for the mother and the children. The mum and the kids had experienced awful violence. They were moved away from the source of that threat to their safety, and they were placed here in Toowoomba. They came battered and broken. An agency brought them to Hume Ridge because they thought we might be able to support them and connect them to a community that would protect and love them. They had been placed in a unit near our home. There were 3 children, and so we helped mum enrol them in a good school, and I and lots of others just began helping get them to school and trying to connect mum with great agencies that could help her. And this church community stepped up. There were visits, there were invites, there was furniture, there was help with babysitting. We got the kids into playing AFL with the Cougars, and coming to Stumpy's and to church, they just found their place, and the kids loved it. The middle child was a boy. He was in prep. He was just a lovely kid. His photo will come up on the screen. After a few months, things appeared to be going really well for this family. Father's Day was coming up, and that carried with it some extra challenges for those kids. Their experience had been anything but what it should have been. I wasn't aware, but the teacher's aide in that little boy's classroom, the teacher aide in that little boy's classroom, had worked out that he may not want to do the usual Father's Day card or poster or whatever. So he gave him the chance to nominate a man he liked and trusted. And together they prepared a poster. The teacher aide asked the questions and recorded the answer. Remember, this is about 10 to 12 years ago. So on Father's Day, a Sunday, this little boy rocked up to church and he gave me this. And for whatever reason, I sensed it was important that morning to stop and read it while he stood there beaming. This is what it says, and we'll go to the next slide. My friend's name is Ross. He is 20 years old. Almost. His hair is grey and his eyes are white. At his job, Ross brings us to school. Ross loves to relax by putting the fan on. He likes to wear his sports shorts. He loves to cook spaghetti. And his favourite household chore is making toys and trains. His favourite TV show is the news. Ross always tells me to clean up all the stuff at church. It makes him happy when he plays football. When Ross shops, he loves to buy a meat pie. If he could go on a trip, he would go to a wedding. I really love it when Ross plays football with me. My favourite thing to do with Ross is to play downstairs at church. I love Ross because he always takes us to Stumpy's and to football and school. I really love Ross. And on the back, He has a picture of himself climbing a ladder to the moon, and it simply says, "I love you to the moon and back." I can't remember everything that was going on around me in that season of my life, but I do remember that stopping that morning and letting that little boy give me that gift, which was far more than just this laminated card, was exactly what I needed at that time. And you can think what you may, but I know that in that exchange I encountered God. I encountered God's love for me. There was nothing spectacular or dramatic, but in that simple exchange, God's still small voice calmly and gently spoke that he had me. I just had to slow down and notice him and notice those right in front of me. Yesterday was quite a day. I started with a footy presentation with the under-9s and under-11s out at the Cougars. And then I came here and conducted the funeral service for Laquash. And then I went from the funeral service here to conduct a wedding at Kubi Dam. We got rained on. It just added to it. And then I came back to Toowoomba and we celebrated with Mike Parker and friends as he's now crossed that 60 mark. Each was a privilege to share in. Each had its moments, but it was quite a day. And to be fully transparent, there are all sorts of emotions still close to the surface for me. Most of you are aware that Laquash made a very sad and tragic and desperate decision. And the service that was given by this faith community throughout the whole day at his funeral service and then beyond that, as we sought to serve and care for his family, for the Sudanese community and the wider community, was something just wonderful to behold. This faith community stepped up, stepped into a breach and stepped beside people that just desperately needed to know that they were seen, they were heard, and they were loved. Yesterday in the service, I shared this. I shared that I have lots of memories about this young man, Laquash. Good, wonderful memories. Memories of a young man that I knew was doing his very best to fit in, to find his place. But that wasn't always easy for him. Finding your sense of place, this is where I belong, this is a powerful thing, is such a powerful thing, Helping others feel like they have a place, that they belong, is a noble thing. So can I encourage you to be gracious, be kind, be patient, slow to speak, quick to listen. Don't jump on others' faults or think that everyone needs to hear your latest opinion. Remember who it is that you said you serve. And so many of you, and I emphasised this a couple of weeks ago, played a very good and helpful part for Laquash. I know that your acceptance, your respect, your kindness was such a big deal in his life. We loved having him around here. We loved him. I probably forgot to tell him that often enough. I probably forgot to tell him that we would be less without him. But it's true. It seems unreal that he won't ever walk through these doors again with that big beaming smile. He won't wander up and shake everyone's hands and make sure that everyone else feels noticed. Bishop Daniel Abbott from the Sudanese community read these words of Jesus of Nazareth. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I'll come again and I will take you to myself, so that where I am, there you may be also. I think Jesus was talking about far more than just a physical dwelling. He was going to get your place where you belong ready, a place that is right for you. It is your place. It is a place that you know is yours. The renowned author, philosopher, and French resistance fighter, what a great resume. Simone Weil stated that to have a sense that we are deeply rooted is perhaps the most important and least recognised need of the human soul. To have a sense of place presses itself upon us with ever greater urgency in our time. Isn't this century the age of the expatriate, the refugee, the stateless, the wanderer? Enforced movement driven by chaotic social, political or economic forces is increasingly common. Persons, indeed whole communities, are turned sometimes overnight into chronic wanderers. So I plead with you, strive with God's help to find your sense of place. And I believe that an essential part of that is about knowing how incredibly loved, wanted, noticed and precious you are to the God that Jesus revealed. You are known, you are noticed. But I also want to plead with this faith community, with all of you this morning. Be placemakers. Be placemakers. Be people who are actively committed to making space and place for one other. You don't have to make it for everyone, but look around and make some space. Help them find their place, just one other. Talk to one other. Talk to one other. We all need to be noticed. I knew that young man, Lakosh, really well. I had coached him in under 8 footy. He'd been part of Stumpies and youth. He'd been part of this place, life groups. We had talked over the years about God, about faith. He had questions, he had doubts, but he had a faith. And he tried. Boy, he tried. He wanted to know God for himself. And for many years, Lakosh has tried to trust God as best he could. He put himself around good people. He read, he prayed, he came, he listened. He chased who this bloke Jesus was. And I believe that Lakosh is with God, a God who has loved him and still loves him. I believe that he's in his place. My God is not into cancelling people. My God does not cancel people. And his love and his grace, his mercy is far greater, far tougher than a regrettable, sad, desperate decision that was born out of pain and struggle. And I can attest to the fact that God is always wanting to listen. He'll be there if you give him a go. He wants you to know how much you matter to him, and he's worth it. And that whatever it might cost to pursue a relationship with him is nothing compared with knowing him and having a sense of place. A sense of place that can last forever. This morning I want to say that there will be people up the front after the service who will pray simply and humbly and just very painlessly for you if you want that. We have Bibles if you want to just grab one, and you can start in the book of John and have a look at this bloke Jesus and ask if that was really God with skin on. What does that say about God? Those years ago when that little boy brought this to me, that Father's Day, I want you to know that I wasn't in a good place. I wasn't doing well. But I paused long enough and I looked into this little fella's eyes who just beamed back to me that he loved me. And I sensed in a very real way God's hand just saying, I'm with you. I'm going to stay with you. Just trust me and know that you are loved. Some of us are waiting for this big experience. We're waiting for this big boom moment where God's going to kind of break through and make it all make sense. We're waiting for this revelation where we'll just see it so clearly. And all the time, God's bringing people right across your path, young, old, in between, who just want you to stop and notice and understand and sense in that moment that He's got you, He loves you, and what He has for you is worth it. So much more, so much better, so much bigger than some of the things that you might be hanging on to right now. Finally, I won't say goodbye this morning, but I will say as strongly and sincerely as I can, God be with you. God be with you. Thank you.